Well, look at here. Streamer file back at it again. What's going on, my brother?
It's only been a month.
Yeah, man. And we're getting ready to take another break. Hey, man, this is what a regular TV does, right? They take long breaks during the winter, so we'll come back strong next year. But before all that, and before we talk about this show, let's get into this intro.
Welcome to Streamophile, the show where John and Ben watch the latest on all streaming platforms and let you know whether to stream it or skip it.
Damn right we do.
stream everything, so you don't have to.
John, my brother, welcome back, man. We back at it again. You know, you've been working hard. I've been working.
I think that's a different dynamic for a change. It's been you
Yeah.
working hard and me working maybe, and now
Yeah.
I'm in a place where I'm thankful to have a job, but boy, oh boy, did they put the okey doke on me.
Yeah,
That's
man.
all right.
When an employer, listen, this is just when an employer goes, "You ready to leave yet?" After your first week, it's a bad sign.
Yeah,
It's a
when
bad
when
sign.
everyone tells you, "Hey, have we scared you away yet?" and they kind of
Yeah,
have that fake laugh, like, I didn't, I meant it, but not really. Please don't leave. It's not a good sign. Like,
it's
hell,
not
you
a
didn't
good
really answer
sign, bro.
these questions during the interview. I mean, I asked them,
Yeah,
and you answered them in a certain way that made me believe like everything was all right, and everything is not all
yep.
right.
Everything is
So
not all right. The
that's
kids are
cool.
not
Take the
all right.
promotion and start looking for my next move, something that's a better fit.
Yeah, man. So, been trying to coordinate it all, and in the meanwhile, still been talking. Obviously, we're family, so we talked
Yep,
about this show probably when it first came out on Netflix. That's good old Ancient Apocalypse, right? So
that's right.
now we've known about Graham Hancock back when Rogan was a California liberal. You know what I mean? Now he's a
Yep.
Texas conservative, so he became a totally different beast in that way. But I've always been a fan of Graham Hancock just because of how he looks at things, right? What were your first impressions about the show? There's no cast here, it's a documentary, it's 8 episodes on Netflix. It's Graham Hancock touring the world. So what were your
Well,
first thoughts when you
let's
started watching it?
let's kind of pump the brakes there on calling this a documentary. I think that's what they build it as a
Want you to think.
documentary, but
Yep.
this is this is about it's an ancient apocalypse, right? It's a story similar in a way to Ancient Aliens, where they're trying to explain how we came about to
Hmm.
have the buildings, the technology, etc., that we had, or that ancient civilizations had. Um, and yet there's no real explanation. Like all of a sudden, certain buildings just started appearing out of nowhere, right? So they're trying to
Hmm.
explain that. Now, Ancient Aliens likes to go by the what is it? The ancient astronaut theory, right?
Yeah.
An outer space being or out, another civilization not of this planet, which I thought it was, I would watch it. You and I talked about that show all the time. And it
Hmm.
was funny and it was great and it was crazy. And I never really buy like I wanted to buy it, but the more I listened to that show, the more I was like, this is a little like kind of like a white supremacist theory here, where you're saying there's no way that the Incas, the Mayans, the Egyptians,
Yeah.
all these civilizations that are brown, that
Yeah.
there's no way that they could build this stuff because
Yeah.
us as civilized men and
Well,
women of the
Egypt
21st century,
historically black. Yeah. Muslim. Yeah.
right? Yeah, we
Yeah.
we can't explain this even to this day. So there's no way that if we can't explain how they built this, there's no way that they could have done it on their own.
Yeah.
So Graham Hancock's Ancient Apocalypse sort of goes, tries to explain that as well, but he's saying that there was an event that happened 12,800 years ago,
Yep.
and it wiped out an advanced civilization of this
Hmm.
planet, and um, that we don't have any trace of, and that um, geologists and archaeologists are sort of trying to like keep under wraps, and they don't want to go back and revisit history because their careers have been founded on the fact that what we know to this day is fact. And so he's
Yep.
trying to unearth all these things and connect the dots, and look, the one thing that got me that I find very interesting is that entire Great Flood story that seems to
Yep.
be a theme in just about any civilization the world over, and that's the one thing that
Can
he
I
hits
use a
on
word? Can I use a word that I'm gonna, you know how I always like to throw in a word that I might be
incorrectly.
using like it, yeah, incorrectly. Like it permeates throughout different civilizations, right? Like it's a
It
whole.
does.
Did I use that? Yes. Did I use?
It,
Yes.
yeah, I'll give it
There we
to you.
go. Finally got one. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, man. Like it's the same. It's a similar story in Mexico that was in Mexico before they called it. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
same in Egypt, in Gunung Padang, and you name all these places around the world, they all had a similar story. I found that
Right.
interesting. And back, look, you kind of glossed over one of the things that I wanted to make like a kind of a main talking point here. The whole thing where we talked about the ancient alien white white supremacy theory there. Like I hadn't thought of it. Like I always enjoyed that show purely based on like the architecture they were showing me, right? It was never
Right.
like, oh, it's aliens. No, fuck out of here. Like it's aliens. Like
It was a cool story. Cool story, bro.
it's a hell of a story, bro. But I never put that whole white supremacy to it. It's like holy shit, yeah, because all the people are talking are by some chance white, right? That are on the show. I don't remember seeing any people of color that did the voiceover when they would show different graphics and shit. So when you said that, I was like, holy fuck! Like you blew my mind. I was like, hey, bro, you're right about that shit. Like I never thought of it that way. Like, whereas like they're trying to explain something in a way that like they can't fathom that they could have built, right? Like
Right.
I still have, I
Must have been
myself
aliens.
have questions like, how was it that these things were built? You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
how? Like I still want to know that person. I never thought it was aliens, but like that shit's amazing. Like the things that we're able to build when you think of who was what humans, right, or humanoids or whatever versions of humans were around at that time, because there were multiple versions. So
Right.
all that shit was crazy. There was a bunch of places that he talked about that I'd never heard of on the show. Like
Yeah, no,
I
I mean,
never
even
heard of.
he starts off with, and maybe I'm not as cultured as I thought I was, but he starts talking about Gunung Padang, and I was like,
Yeah,
what?
the
And
fuck are you
I
talking about? Yeah, hundred
never heard
percent.
of it. It's in Indonesia, and again, and that first episode is I mentioned all these that story that permeates throughout all
Yeah,
civilizations. Your favorite word for today.
yeah. Word for the day.
And the
Yeah,
first episode is once there was a flood, but that flood
yeah,
story, that great flood story, is in just about every civilization, right? It's in the Bible, and Noah and the ark and everything else. That's the one that we know in the Western world, but it's in all these other civilizations.
yeah,
And Cholula, Mexico, you touched on it. And as
yeah,
he goes through all these episodes and he visits different places around the world, he comes back kind of full circle to like what he mentions in the first episode. They had that great flood story
mm-hmm.
that's talking about some kind of a wanderer who comes from another part of the world, teaching them
Yeah,
how to farm and how to do these things and how to build things that were might have been lost during the great flood. And when you think about what
yeah,
happens in a flood, if there are civilizations living in the lowlands, an event that occurred, and I forget what the name of the event was. I have to find it, but there was an event that happened over 50 to 100 years, which is a very short period of time. I think less than that. What that brought about the conditions
mm-hmm.
for a great flood. And so when you have civilizations that are potentially living in the lowlands, yeah, that spells disaster, right? I mean, flooding of
Yeah,
that magnitude that we're talking about, a great flood that could wipe out entire civilizations. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility that something like this could have happened. Certainly more believable. Not that I'll touch on this later in the show. I think I'll
yeah,
mention it. Not that I don't believe that there's life out there, but just the way that they go about trying to explain this, it's not, oh, it's aliens, it's another civilization because
yeah,
we didn't have the
yeah,
technology on Earth. It's more of,
mm-hmm.
I think it was us, but there's something that we're missing, a part of our history that's not being told,
Yes, mm-hmm.
that's not there. And so he goes about trying to connect the dots. He also kind of sounds a little bit like like a conspiracy theorist and a bit of a nut
Yeah,
because
a little bit, yeah.
he's seems like he's dedicated his entire life or the last few years of his life to this. So quite a few
No, it's
people
the last couple of
they
decades.
don't take them, yeah, don't take them very seriously.
Yeah,
It's essentially his life's work, I think.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I I do think I also agree with you. I do think he comes off a little bit conspiracy theoristy.
Mhm.
Um, but some of the things, some of the questions he raises, I don't know if they're valid because look, we're not intelligent enough to know the rest of the story of the places he's showing you, right? Like we don't know the scholarly explanation of why these things are there, and because he kind of alludes to it, he just goes, "Oh, they won't look into it." You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it feels like look into it becomes like this thing that like everybody says, "Oh, look it up or look do your own research." Bitch, I'm watching you to tell me what you know. What I'm saying what that research should be like. This is my research, but yeah, man, like he Gonu Param blew my mind.
Mhm.
I was like, oh shit, how is this a thing that's just never been talked about? I consider myself like you know what I mean a nerd about this. Like I never even heard about this shit on the 18,000 seasons of Ancient Aliens. Like they never I don't
Yeah,
remember
that is
them
true.
even mentioning it. So that one alone, I was like, yo, like why isn't this a thing? Like why
Mhm.
didn't they look at the chamber in Cholula, Mexico, where they found the whole like what you know what I'm saying? What's the reason for that there? What are you gonna say?
Right. I mean, there were uh where was it at? Was it at Gobekli Tepe where there were different sort of layers of
Yes.
um not tombs, I'm not sure what the right word is, but that they were
Like
essentially,
communes,
yeah,
like circular these circular structures with huge posts. Like Gobekli Tepe for me alone, like
right.
that could just be a document. Like that could be a documentary. Like I need that. Like that alone. For I didn't give a fuck what else was in that series. Gobekli
Uh-huh.
Tepe throws everything you think of out the window. It's like 14,000 years ago. It was purposely buried. You know what I mean? Like
Like,
it, and there's
right.
like it goes back into that whole mountain or hill of a thing that you got to dig it out because there's more to be discovered. I was like, how, bro? Like, how
Same
is
thing in
this
Cholula.
just this? Yeah, just this one thing. Just this one thing. It was like, if this throws out everything you got to say, then I need everything redone again. I need you to do your fucking research and tell me why this thing that isn't supposed to exist from a time that we're not supposed to be able to build things like this, how this is there.
Yeah, no, and look, I wish that I could say that I wrote down the names of the different geologists and scientists, and I don't think he had an actual archaeologist, but he had geologists and other individuals on there. I
Yeah.
wish I could tell you I wrote down their names and I looked them up to find out if they've been like left out of their, their
Mm-hmm.
field, if they're taken seriously or not. Because obviously, uh, Graham Hank, Graham is in many circles a laughing stock, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Yeah.
But these people that he was talking to, with the exception of like the guys that were that were looking for stuff in we're looking for Atlantis. That looked like
Yeah.
just one guy who like just put something together and like he does this on weekends. He's a treasure hunter. But everyone
Yeah.
else
Yeah.
seemed like they were
Mm-hmm.
respectable. They had degrees, they're educated, they've been working in
Yep.
the fields, they're geologists,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's not some guys that they have some conspiracy theory. It seems like they were also individuals that were posing questions who were also being shut down or not given an answer, or they were just being told, stop looking into it. This
Yeah.
is the way it is, mostly by archaeologists who have, written books and have established careers based off of uh, of what we know, history as we know it. And look,
Right.
again, I told you in the WhatsApp chat, I'm a moron. I don't know anything, but
I'm
I
stupid.
have
I have no
questions,
idea. Yeah.
right? I have no idea. But
Yeah.
but this seems interesting, and I'm not saying that it's true, but it's something worth, like an avenue worth pursuing, and actually let's see if there's anything there. Why not looking to
Yep.
see if there's anything there? If there's nothing there, then what's what harm could come from looking into it, from carbon dating certain things that they said they've requested being carbon dated and they've been turned down. Um,
Yep.
I can't remember
Or
who
it
that guy was.
disappears.
Or disappears, right? And so
Yeah.
that's the part that like really caught my interest, because I'm like, okay, you're asking to have stuff, things carbon dated, and it's a refusal. Or in Cholula, they refuse to go and look farther into those tunnels. No, we
Hmm.
refuse to go and look at these things and explore and see what could be there. And so once you hear that, that's where the skeptic and okay, maybe Graham isn't so full of BS.
Hmm.
It's this is not just an entertainment series, but now I'm questioning, like, why are we not looking into it?
Yeah,
Why are we not trying to figure out if there is anything to these claims? But the show itself was
I think
entertaining. I mean, I
yeah,
we got past the stream it or uh
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or skip it.
It was really well done. Again, look, it goes back to your trademark. It was a bite size stream. I think it was
Mhm.
28-minute episodes, perfect. Never fell asleep because it's well documented that we talk about. I can't stay awake in most documentaries. If you want to call this a documentary, I guess I would call this more like investigative journalism. You know what I mean? Like in that sense, like he
It's
has
what he
questions
is.
and like yes, what he is by trade. The one that I found interesting, which the one I alluded to, was like where they lost the research, right? Like the when they wanted something carbon dated because they found teeth at like the lower level of a rock. I think that was in like the third episode
Mhm.
when they kept rebuilding the same structure because they try to like orient it to like a certain star, and they found this like cave, and then there was teeth found at a time like that people weren't supposed to be there. Sent the teeth out, and then they just like, oh no, we lost the teeth, or we
Right.
have the information and we're not gonna send it to you because we lost it, or the printer isn't working, or it got lost in. Oh no, we sent. You know what I mean? There was always a reason why the things that they were wanted to be proved wrong or right about just never got the answers to. So that's and again that's what and I'm with you on that. Like you're left with these things like, hey, but why though? Like because if Graham's a quack, right? If Graham Hancock is a
Very
laughing stock and
possible.
all these things, which is very possible. I'm not. I have no idea. I'm not smart enough to be in that room. If that's possible, what one carbon dating study, one of these things, be like, hey man, look, you're full of shit. Look here, you happy? Be done with it. You know?
Yeah. So to tell you the truth, look, the show was entertaining to me. The theories that he posed, the reason why I say he sounds like a conspiracy theory nut, uh, but watch the show, stream it. Whether you believe it
Yeah,
or not,
yeah,
it's a fun watch. It's
yeah.
entertaining. If you think
Very
that this
good.
is all BS, cool, watch it and just be entertained by it. Or
If
yell at
you
the TV
yeah.
because he's being ridiculous. Here's why I think it's ridiculous though, and I agree with some people that might think that
But
his
hold on,
theory is
wait.
ridiculous.
1 second. I also say stream it, and if you don't want to believe the theories he's pushing or he's telling you, that's fine. Just look at it alone as to understand that like these places exist on Earth.
Right.
Like that's you know what I mean. Just as like if you want to travel and go see different places on the planet, these places really physically exist that you could visit. That
Had no
alone
idea.
made it interesting for me. Had no idea these places existed. All right,
Yeah.
back to you,
No,
brother.
yeah.
What are you
So
gonna
for
say?
that reason alone, absolutely watch the show if you want to go see something that you didn't hear or read about in your history books.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall learning about any of these sites. And
Yeah.
so just for that alone, if you're someone that travels, check it out. But the reason why Graham sounds like a quack is because, and I think I mentioned this to you, he goes about trying to fit everything perfectly.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
he'll it just like other conspiracy theorists and other people that argue a point, whatever it is that they're arguing, they just try to
Mm-hmm.
present you everything from their point of view and they try to fit every little thing, like leaving out some things and only including the things that make their case.
Yep.
And so
Yeah.
I
I'm with you.
noticed that a lot, and I was like, oh, okay, this guy's just a quack. But when we list, when I watched and those things that we mentioned, the evidence that was lost, or the fact that they won't carbon date certain things, that they refuse to carbon date, like, why won't you? That's a simple request. Why won't you carbon date this particular item,
Yeah.
these items, or why won't you open up those gates and explore the rest of Cholula, the pyramid in Cholula?
Mm-hmm.
So things like that doesn't make it true, but it makes his quirkiness and his quackiness, because he does come off
Seem
as a
more
quack,
plausible.
seem
Yeah.
more plausible. And so I pulled up an article from the Guardian that says Ancient Apocalypse is the most dangerous show on Netflix, and it goes on to talk about how he was
That's the
on
most dangerous
Rogan,
show on
and
Netflix.
how he was on Rogan. He has a ridiculous theory, and this is from November, so that's when the show
That's when the
released,
show
and
came
we
out.
just
Yeah.
didn't have a chance to do this. But we're speaking strictly from a stream it or skip it point of view, and not
Yes.
we are archaeologists or
Mm-mm.
educated, cultured, in the
Nope.
know scientists. No, it's a fun watch.
Yep.
If you choose to continue to believe what we all know to this day in the history of our world or planet, or what we know, continue to believe
That's
that.
fine.
If you just want
Yeah.
to watch it for entertainment, watch it for entertainment.
Yep.
If you think that this is going to answer questions, this is not going to answer any questions.
No.
It might pose more questions to you if you were skeptical. It might cause you to pick up books and start reading and be like, let me see if this guy Graham is full of BS, and you'll just be
Yep.
more educated for it. Yeah, and then
Mm-hmm.
once you pick up some books that are written by many of these scholars who probably say Graham is a quack, but
Yep.
they're written by educated individuals who studied this for a living.
Yep.
You'll be more educated for it. But the show itself is a fun watch. It introduced me to places that I had no idea existed, and so
Not at
for
all.
that alone, I think it's a stream it.
Yeah, 100%. Like that, just that alone, I was like, holy shit! I didn't know. Like, I need to go back and Tebe existed because of Ancient Aliens. Never. I didn't know about Cholula. I didn't know about Gunung Padang. I didn't know about the like flatlands or the salt lands or whatever it is in like North America, like in here in North America,
Mm-hmm.
where they have like these things that's like bigger than the Grand Canyon, where like he tries to explain like it's this beautiful scenery, and I was like,
Yeah,
where the fuck is this? Like, I've never heard of this. Like, I live in this country. Like, I've never heard of this area. You hear the Grand Canyon and all these other places. Just on that alone, I was like, look, the theories are the theories, right? We're like,
right,
neither of us are smart enough to A, understand it, B, explain it, and C, yeah, just got nothing on that.
right.
But
Yeah,
just purely as a sightseeing or a uh I don't know, just an entertainment factor. It's really well done. You know what I mean? The
I thought
shots are
so.
great. If you think Graham Hancock's weird, that's fine. I don't like
So do I.
his standing isn't what I'm here to defend. Just the thought of like that these places, there's a good chance, let's say 6 or 7 out of 8 places that he visits, you never heard of, and that alone is insane. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a good chance none of these places, if you watch the show, you knew even existed on this planet, and they did at a time
Yeah,
where allegedly they shouldn't have. So yeah, it was
yeah.
crazy, man.
For that alone, whether you get to travel or whether you actually start reading books about these places, you'll be better off for it.
Yeah,
So the one place that you mentioned about in the US, I've traveled out west quite a bit, and I don't recall if I've been to this one place, or next summer when we hit another road trip,
yeah.
I'm gonna have to find out what he was talking about. I just want to drive through there, maybe try to do some
What was the
overlanding
name of that
and check
place?
it out.
I'm drawing a blank. It was something like,
Uh,
because it was always like put emphatically on the screen, but I'm drawing a blank as to what the name of it was. If you
it's
want
on
to,
episode 8, named
yeah,
Cataclysm and Rebirth, and so I'll have to actually maybe rewatch the episode because I'm not
yeah.
getting the information online. So I'll definitely have to look that up, which I could tell you right now. It's called the Camas Prairie. Let me see. In Washington State. Yeah, he called it Camas Prairie in Washington
Is
State.
that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. I never heard of it. I never heard of it, bro. I didn't even like. I never knew that existed. Never knew that was a thing. Like, that was crazy. That was crazy, man. I thought it was. I thought, like, again, like, I thought it was a well done podcast. a well done show, not a podcast. This is a well done podcast. I don't have to do some, yeah. You know what I mean? Sometimes, depending on the day. But yeah, man. Is there really anything else we need to say about this show?
No, I think you should watch it. Don't go into it thinking that this is going to change your mind or not change your mind or enlighten you. Just if you want to be
this is not all the answers. Yeah.
Or any answers, really. But if you want to be entertained by however you think yourself, if you think of yourself as educated, as a free thinker, as whatever you think you are, and you want pure entertainment, check the show out. Whether you consider it science or pseudoscience, that's up to you. But it's a fun watch, and you'll be introduced to some places that you didn't know about before. So hopefully you'll start to educate yourself on those and maybe travel to them. So it's worth a watch.
Well, no, 100%, man. I think you worded that perfectly, man. Ancient Apocalypse is 100% a stream it just for the entertainment, and I'm not gonna, just for the entertainment factor. I was gonna say education, but I was like, no, that's not it. Like, this isn't,
not quite.
Can't say that. Can't say it's education. All right, guys, that's been another episode of Stream File. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and everywhere you get your podcasts. That was us talking about Ancient Apocalypse on Netflix. We're out. Peace. There it is with you. Just your weird ass every time.
That's it. Every time.
Every time. Just hate it every time. Every time it makes me more angry.
Do it again. Leave this in.
No, I know.
Just leave this in. So we're gonna.
Okay, don't say it like that. Don't say it like that. Don't say it like that.
Leave it in. Just two.